Chapter 100. The East is undefeated. This sect master, the East is undefeated. A female phase with a male voice. Nearly everyone was stunned when they heard Dongfang Bubo's voice. Male. Countless cultivators stared wide-eyed. Sect leader. Great Emperor Shu raised an eyebrow. What sect master? The East is undefeated. The East. Mr. Dongfang's eyes narrowed slightly. It seems like he hasn't heard of it before. After saying that, Dongfang Undefeated didn't pay attention to the crowd, but turned his head to where Guhai was. Mr. Gu, I just saw that this Dongfang Undefeated's stitches exceeded the range of the Grand Formation, the 29 Grand Formation. Can't do it at all, or this is the 30 Grand Formation special. Mo Yaika's eyes lit up as he looked towards Guhai. Guhai nodded. But, other than that, there's no difference. Oh yeah, you don't need to unite with the Cloud Beast. But, this Cloud Beast's power, it may not be greater than Zhong Sanfeng, or stronger than the Doctor, right? 30 and 29. What else is the difference? Mo Yaika asked curiously. However, just halfway through the question, Mo Yaika's voice came to an abrupt end, staring at Dongfang Undefeatable with wide eyes and surprise. However, he saw that Dongfang Undefeatable's pair of eyes were extremely cold, and a lordly aura came over him. More importantly, those eyes were not controlled eyes, but so real. You created me. Dongfang Bu Bai looked at Guhai and suddenly spoke. Alive? Mo Yaika exclaimed. Wow. At the mouth of the Great Hall of Greatness, nearly all the officials were in an uproar. This Dongfang Bu Fu was talking to Guhai. He wasn't controlled by Guhai. How is this possible? Living hell. Countless people in the city also stared at this scene with wide eyes, incredulous. Li Shenji opened his mouth. What kind of bizarre grand formation is this? Wasn't Dongfang Bubo a cloud beast? It was conversing with Guhai in turn. Could it be that Guhai did it on purpose? It couldn't be. Guhai wouldn't be so boring. 30 heavenly and earthly vertical formations. Independent theosophy. That's right. This is independent divine intelligence. Back then, Old Man Chess watches 31 heaven and earth vertical and horizontal grand formation was able to do so. 30 has yet to be perfected, but it's already been able to do a thorough simulation of independent divine intelligence. Gong Yong Sheng stared blankly into the distance. Not bad. It's me. My name is Guhai. Eastern sect leader, Guhai said in a deep voice. As Dongfang Bufu looked at Guhai, his eyes narrowed slightly as he twisted his head to look at the four directions, turning to see the direction of the Great Yor Temple once again. At this moment, at the entrance of the Dayuya Hall, a group of officials had already opened their mouths wide. This was created by Guhai. He had his own mind. This is a joke, right? Dongfang Bufei looked around and turned to Guhai and said in a deep voice, This is not my Blackwood Cliff. I'm not real either. Before long, I will disappear. Right. That's right. This is a great formation called the 30 Heavens and Earth Vertical and Horizontal Formation. That simulates the absolute powerhouse in my mind. And you are the absolute powerhouse. That's why I simulated you. Now, this grand formation is your domain. Before the energy of the grand formation is depleted, this is your domain, your world, Guhai solemnly said. Dongfang Bufei looked at the sky, took a deep breath and said, Like a moth to a flame, a fleeting moment of splendor. Guhai did not reply. Instead, Dongfang Undefeated suddenly stared at Guhai dead in the face. Can there be a day when I can get out of the formation and not be bound? Amo Yaika opened his mouth. This Dongfang Bubo's intelligence was actually so bizarre. He wanted to live, wants to become a real person. You want to come out? Guhai said in a deep voice. Yes, Dongfang Bubo solemnly said. You're nowadays. You only have a divine mind. Everything else is an illusion. No bones, no flesh, no soul, no spirit, for the time being. I don't have the ability to do that. In the coming days, if I have the ability to do that, I'll do my best to help you come out. Gu Hai nodded. Many thanks. Dongfang Bufu got up and gave a slight salute. The Bat ancestor and the others on the side had long since watched in a daze. Gu Hai was doing this on purpose, right? Talking to himself, creating a person. This dummy still wants to come to life. Mo Yaika, however, clenched his fists. Gu Hai will be 30 heaven and earth vertical and horizontal grand formation. Also taught himself. Only he's still too far away from comprehending through too far. But is it possible that in the coming days, I can also do it? 30 heavenly and earthly vertical and horizontal formations. 29 heaven and earth vertical and horizontal formations. There is simply a world of difference, or, at least, this simulation lives. 29 heaven and earth longitudinal and transversal large array million cannot do. Conversation with Dongfang Bufei ended. Gu Hai raised his head and looked at the sky. One more time, Gu Hai's fingertip chess piece once again slapped in the air. Huiyu. Steeply, the grand formation once again surged with rolling fog, charging straight at the 3 cloud pillars that reached the sky. Boom, boom. There was a loud bang from both above and below, and high in the sky, the walls of the Literature Palace and the Martial Palace burst apart. Clattering. It was as if countless pieces of debris had blown apart. In an instant, the strongest people in the entire city were in an uproar. It's broken open. Chongming was instantly excited. Boom, however. It was seen that in the Palace of Literature, rolling vast and positive chess surged out furiously. Half of the sky was suddenly as bright as day, and in the Palace of Martial Arts, all of a sudden, rolling black chair surged out furiously. Once the black gas came out, it immediately brought out the rolling icy cold snow in general, water vapor countless. In the city, Li Shenji, Gongyang Sheng, Long Shenwu, and the others clenched their fists. There was a feeling of rushing up. My aura has weakened. This grand formation is about to end. Dongfang Bufei suddenly spoke. 2/3 of the spirit stones have been consumed. Gu Hai nodded. Gu Hai's words immediately caused the people in the city to be in an uproar, and Mo Yaika was also speechless for a while. 2/3 of the spirit stones. That wasn't 20 billion top-grade spirit stones. 20 billion oh. This is gone. At the mouth of the Dayuanyuan Hall, the mouths of those officials who managed Dayuanyuan's finances shivered. This is not a chess Dao formation. This is clearly an extermination formation. 20 billion top-grade spirit stones, and it's gone in a flash. Even the biggest empire is not enough for you to consume our. Dongfang Bufei didn't say anything. Instead, Gu Hai looked towards Emperor Shu. The Cultural Palace opened, and the Martial Palace opened. At this moment, although countless cultivators in the city were staring, but no one rushed up. Why? Because Emperor Shu was staring. Who would seek death at this time? Shu Emperor did not look at the Palace of Letters, but stared at the Palace of Martial Arts. Looking at it, it seemed to be about to make a move. Steeply, Emperor Shu's eyes narrowed, turning his head, coldly looking towards a floating island not far away. Hey, it's you. Great Emperor Shu's face abruptly turned cold. There was a great chill in his voice. Who? The one who could make Great Emperor Shu so careful was obviously not an easy person. Great Killing Sage. Everyone followed Great Emperor Shu's gaze. However, they saw that on top of that floating island, at this moment, there was a man in black clothes standing. Originally there was a hat, but the hat had been lifted, revealing a handsome young man with a handsome face appearance. Only the man's handsome face. His eyes seemed to have the eyeshadow of the ancient seed's form earth. Flushed with green, a head of long hair was even more green long hair. It looked demonic and incomparable. Great brightness King God, Great Emperor Shu said with an icy face. Great Emperor Shu, farewell. A light smile appeared at the corner of the green-haired man's Doming King God's mouth. Doming King God, Gu Hai raised an eyebrow. In the middle of the city, in the Qin mansion, an old blind man's face abruptly changed. The Bat ancestor looked towards the Great Brightness King God, and within his eyes, there was even a hint of panic. Chong Sheng, Qin Zaibai, Mo Yikai, and Shikong all had their faces changed as if they were facing a great enemy. The Great Brightness King God merely showed his face without releasing the slightest bit of his aura, and with the exception of Great Emperor Shu, all of the top nobles of the Daiwan Imperial Dynasty showed panic on their faces. In the city, Li Shenji, Gongyang Sheng, and Long Shenwu all had their faces sunken. At this time, how could the great Ming King God come to Metropolis City? Don't come here unharmed. You don't come here well either. What? In my metropolis? Have you been staying for a while? Great Emperor Shu said indifferently. Just arrived, but just happened to see this grand formation. The end is not bad. The 30 heavens and earth vertical formation. Gu Hai, your chest Dao formation is getting more and more refined. A hint of a grim voice appeared at the corner of the Great Brightness King God's mouth. Great Emperor Shu looked at Gu Hai. This Gu Hai had a grudge against the Great Brightness King God. Long Shenwu was also stunned for a moment. This Gu Hai, how come he had enemies everywhere? The Great Brightness King God also had a bad tone towards him. Bat ancestor and the others were stunned. This ancient sea was so inviting. The Great Brightness King God also had a grudge against him. Didn't he just come out of the mortal region? This was the rhythm of erecting enemies all over the world. Gu Hai's gaze was ice cold as he looked towards the Great Brightness King God. Before Gu Hai opened his mouth, Dongfang Bufu on the side was narrowing his eyes. I can tell that this person is extraordinary. My great formation is not enough energy. I can't fight for too long. If there is a day when you let me out of the Great Formation's cage, I will help you kill him. Brush. Nearly everyone's gazes all looked towards Dongfang Undefeated. Dongfang Undefeated was going to kill the Great Brightness King God. In the square of the Great Jain Temple, amongst a group of officials, Chongming looked at Dongfang Undefeatable and glared, wanting to say you have guts again, but the occasion didn't seem to be very suitable at the moment, so he could only suppress it in a raw manner. Great Emperor Shu looked at Dongfang Undefeated with interest. Mr. Dongfang had indeed racked his brains. Duplicate surname Dongfang. Same surname as me. Dongfang Undefeated. What a big mouth. Why haven't I heard of it? Kill me. Hey haha. I'll wait for you. The Great Brightness King God laughed coldly. Don't die too early. A murderous intent appeared on Dongfang Bubo's demonic face. The look in Dongfang Undefeated's eyes. It was a lordly and domineering intent that had never been defeated before, and Gu Hai had imbued the invincible will of the world when he simulated him. So this look in Dongfang Undefeated's eyes did make the Great Brightness King God look him again uncomfortably. HMPH. The Great Brightness King God let out a cold snort and stopped paying attention to Gu Hai. In Chagai, I've already asked Chong Sheng to give you a message that I will come. Hehe, it's quite a coincidence that I'm here. Treasure of the Great Killing Heaven Dynasty. Kill you and it's all mine, the Great Brightness King God said indifferently. Ha, ha ha ha. Great Emperor Shu, however, laughed out loud with an icy tone. After laughing, Great Emperor Shu's face turned grim. Little peacock, you are forgetting where this is, aren't you? The Great Brightness King God stared at Great Emperor Shu with narrowed eyes. My things, you dare to get your hands on them. Taiyi is the one who arrives in person, but also wait for me. Taiyi's pet, you want to be reckless in front of me. You're not qualified. Great Emperor Shu said with cold eyes. You're giving me the urge to let you die right now. The great brightness, King God said in a cold voice.